Hey, it's Jeff from Home Renovation DIY. I'm here today to talk about something that's kind of important. I was doing a speaking engagement back in Toronto a few weeks back, and one of the gentlemen in the audience asked me a question that kind of stumped me. It doesn't happen too often, but he asked the question, what do you think about the government's plan to go to net zero homes? Whew, out of nowhere, I'm hit with a bombshell like this. Well, I've been doing a lot of research since then because my answer was basically, I live in Canada, it gets cold up here, and I couldn't even foresee the idea that somehow we'd be able to find a way to make enough energy to make our homes self-sufficient in the wintertime. It blew my mind. But since then, I've been doing a lot of research, been in touch with a lot of companies that are developing technologies going on. And we're going to be highlighting some of those technologies here on the channel in the following months, so stay tuned. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the button, the notification bell, because we're going to dig deep in the future about all these technologies and how it pertains to you, because the question of the day is, can we build a net zero home? Can we do it affordably, right? Like, I'm all for trying to do things in a better way that is more efficient, but it's got to make financial sense. And is it something that when we're done creating that you'd like to live in? Because there's going to be sacrifices. Let's not lie to each other here. The biggest challenge that we have if we want to be energy efficient in our construction technology is the fact that we're generally selfish and we like to spoil ourselves rotten. I get it. Now listen, this new generation that's coming along, they are challenging the status quo, and I think it's awesome. I always love to be challenged with the way we think, and we're seeing a real big trend to tiny homes and alternative lifestyles and living in a van, and I get it. We're trying to push the boundaries and break out of the box a little bit. It makes sense. I don't know if you're going to do a real good job of raising a family of 4 kids in a van, but I get the idea is to get small, have a smaller footprint, and that makes sense. So let me share with you, first of all, what I think net zero means to me, what I think it means to the government, and why, even if we are able to achieve it, maybe it isn't going to be so attractive, and there might be other things we have to look at if we're really concerned about energy and how we're using it. So first of all, I love having these talks. Thanks for joining me and staying with this. Really interesting to hear some of people's opinions in the comments section. I don't want to get political, but I do want to hear ideas, thoughts that can move us in the right direction, areas of conversation that we can have. Like to have a healthy discourse, if that's okay. Not much for politics nowadays, but it seems like since all the politicians are busy being little boys and girls and crying and whining, it's up to the rest of us to have important conversations. So let's try to have an intelligent conversation here. Net zero to me means that my house is able to produce enough energy to sustain itself, period. Okay? If we're not having that conversation, then it's not worth having. We either are able to do it or we aren't. Now, I'm not sure what the government's using as a definition for net zero. I know up here in Ontario, there's been talk about how, net zero, another 20 years we'll get there. Honestly, whatever their definition is, if they can't remove the need for natural gas in people's homes, they're never going to achieve it. End of discussion. And I don't know what their plan is for that. I just don't think they have one. I think they're just shooting off at the mouth. But I'm here to tell you that I think it's possible, as close as maybe by next year, to build a house that doesn't have any natural gas and is completely fuel efficient on its own. Off-grid living, I think it's doable. I think it's doable for a family of 4. I think it's doable with a lot of the amenities, but not all of them. Let's get into breaking this down real quick. First thing you need to understand is the goal for net zero is not going to save the planet, okay? It is just one step in the right direction. It's a changing of a mindset. It's a direction that causes research and development that hopefully will bring enough research together to get that to a more realistic target. But you got to remember, 60% of all the energy we use, electricity, natural gas, oil, that's industrial, right? That's just for taking products out of the ground and refining them into something that's usable. That's 60% of the energy. So no matter what we do as residents in our home, which is what we're here to talk about, we're not affecting that. And that's the lion's share of all of the energy used. The other 40% is broken down pretty closely to residential and commercial. So even if we can build a net zero home, are we going to build net zero commercial spaces? Like, we have to revamp everything. So let's talk about the net zero home. It's 20% of all the energy that we're using. And if we can find a way to remove that from our energy cycle, at least then, like I said, we're moving in the right direction and we're developing technologies that hopefully could be broadened in scope for commercial industrial use. So, net zero energy. Let's talk about what we have available now. We have things, and we're gonna get some B-roll for this in just a second. We have things in the way of drain systems, okay, where we can collect the heat from running water that's going down our sewer pipes in the home and circle it back towards our hot water tank so that that heat energy can be saved. That's great. We've got heat recovery ventilation units. It's basically a ductwork and exhaust throughout the entire home that acts like fans, so in the bathrooms and kitchens, and it can take all of that air that's got heat in it, and then it can exchange it with the fresh air intake so that the heat stays in the air and goes back into the house. That's great. You know, they're helpful. They're not the whole solution. What we really need to do is get to things like this. The induction stove that's in this countertop, okay, I have a range top that's installed underneath the stone that cooks faster than natural gas, and it works on nothing less than 8 amps. That's not even half the power of the plug, all right? It's absolutely mind-blowing. It's amazing technology. And things like this that make the construction of a tiny kitchen doable, that's gonna really change the planet. Now, if we have stoves on induction power that don't take any energy, hopefully down the road we'll get to ovens and heating furnace systems on induction technology. I would love to see that. I think it's doable. Hopefully in the next year or two that development will happen. And if we can get there and we don't need to bring natural gas in the home anymore, then on the flip side, we've also got a development of our ability to harness the sun. Up until now, solar panels have had small changes, little adjustments to the technology. We can get a more focused amount of light. We can charge, we have battery. I mean, it can work. If you have enough of an array, you can supply some of the power you need. But the reality is, if the world's going to go to electric cars, and your house is going to be net zero at the same timeline, we've got to have enough power in your house to drive your car and run your home. And if you're going to go to a heating system like we need in the north without any natural gas, now we're asking for a whole lot from our solar panel, right? We all have to live on a 10-acre farm with nothing but solar panels, and that's not feasible. So, do we make our footprint smaller? Do we build smaller homes? That's doable. Increased insulation in the home, that helps. But I think the biggest thing that we're going to find out is that in the solar panel industry, their technologies are being developed right now that make them 4 times more powerful. Our battery technology is getting better. And hopefully it will all combine in the next couple of years where we can build a home that is very similar to what we have now and be able to supply the energy for it all by ourselves. Having said that, until we get there, if you want to live net zero and you want to have a off-the-grid lifestyle, you've got to pretty much live in something that's under 500 square feet. And you're almost cooking with wood, right? I mean, it is really tricky to get any kind of lifestyle quality if you're under 500 square feet. Now it might be fine if you're young and alone and you've just got a spouse or maybe one child. And it's very Tarzan and Jane and it's kind of fun, I get the excitement. But if you've got a large family and you're looking at changing a society, you've got to find a way to make the large city centers doable, right? So all of that to say, if you want to live net zero, we need more technology. If you want to do it now, you're going to be living in a real tiny home. All the power to you. Enjoy the experience, all right? But for the reality is, for the rest of society where we already have our homes and we're already invested, the only way we can get there is by increasing our technology, and the only way we can get there is if people start funding that research. Otherwise, it's all going to be private business. And when those technologies develop, they're going to charge an arm and a leg and it won't be affordable. Bottom line. So, I don't know, there's no real answer yet for are we going to get there, because we might be able to get there with technology, but it's not going to be affordable, because right now the only people that are doing anything about it are private business. And I'm telling you right now, they are going to want to get paid when they develop that technology. All to say, maybe the best plan that we have right now is just be smart, try to live small, try to live more efficient, right? Don't be so darn selfish, and maybe even see if we can find a way to start pressing our governments to get involved in the conversation about research and development, so it's not all left up to private industry, because as long as that's where the investment is being made, that's where the return is going to go, and the rest of us, if we want to get there, are going to go broke finding a way to buy one. Whew! Anyway, that's my 2 bits on living net zero. It can be done. Right now it's not that comfortable, and we'll never get there if we rely on industry to do it for us. So, having said that, if you got any questions or you want to get in this conversation, hit the comments section below. I welcome your thoughts. Looking to engage on this because I think over the next couple of years, on this channel specifically, we're going to see some different technologies that are really exciting and are actually maybe even affordable. And we're going to highlight those. So, like I said, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next video. And if you want to see how the induction cooktop that's hiding underneath this stone works, then click the link right here. We got a video showing the installation and the execution. We actually cook some eggs. We talk about the technology with the guy that designed it. So that'll be an awesome video as well. We'll see you next time.